All right, welcome to the Ultimate Biology Exam Review. Grab your index cards because today we are building the perfect set of flashcard topics to help you absolutely crush nutrition, respiration, and gas exchange. I know these massive topics can feel totally overwhelming, but if we break them down step by step, it's actually pretty fascinating. Okay, let's dive into this.
So here's the massive central mystery of life. How do living things actually acquire and then unlock the energy they need to just survive? I mean, this one single question drives the entire biological world, from the smallest single cell to the largest blue whale. It's the ultimate why behind everything we are covering in today's explainer.
To answer that big question, here's our roadmap. These are the 5 major flashcard categories you need for the exam. 1. The universal energy imperative. 2. Acquiring fuel across species. 3. The 5 stages of nutrition. 4. Unlocking energy with cellular respiration. And finally, 5. The anatomy of gas exchange. Let's get to it.
Starting right off with Section 1, the universal energy imperative. Every single organism shares this fundamental need for food.
Okay, definitely write this definition down for your first flashcard. Metabolism. It's the sum of all chemical processes occurring within a living cell or organism that are necessary for the maintenance of life, and it's totally driven by nutrition. You know, think of it like a car engine idling. It's the absolute foundation for why we eat, why we digest, and why we breathe.
Moving right along to Section 2, acquiring fuel across species. This is where we look at the big divide between how plants and animals actually get the fuel their metabolism needs.
This right here is the ultimate compare and contrast concept. In one corner, you've got autotrophic nutrition. That's plants creating their own food using photosynthesis. In the other corner, heterotrophic nutrition. Animals that absolutely must consume other organisms for food. It's basically the makers versus the takers.
But you know, biology loves to break its own rules, right? So this is prime multiple choice trivia. Not all plants are purely autotrophic. Check these out. Parasitic plants steal nutrients from a host. Saprophytic plants feed on decay. And insectivorous plants literally trap and digest bugs. Evolution is incredibly sneaky sometimes. Now, over on the animal side of things, getting fuel gets wildly diverse. You'll definitely want to categorize these 6 animal feeding mechanisms for your exam: filter feeding, deposit feeding, fluid feeding, bulk feeding, substrate feeding, and holozoic nutrition. Grouping these with solid examples like, say, a whale for filter feeding or us humans for bulk feeding is going to make memorizing them a breeze.
And keeping with animals, here's a golden rule to remember. Anatomy always follows function. I mean, have you ever wondered why a cow's digestive tract looks so wildly different from a wolf's? It's because herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores each possess totally unique anatomical traits tailored specifically for their food sources. The tools just have to match the meal.
Okay, let's shift into Section 3, the 5 stages of nutrition. Let's see how this all builds into the physical journey of a meal inside an animal's body.
Pro tip here. Chunk these 5 sequential steps together on one single flashcard to easily memorize holozoic nutrition. It's a flawless biological assembly line. 1. Ingestion, taking the food in. 2. Digestion, breaking it down. 3. Absorption, pulling those nutrients into the body. 4. Assimilation, actually using those nutrients to build tissue. And 5. Egestion, getting rid of the waste. Super straightforward.
That brings us to Section 4, unlocking energy through cellular respiration. We're zooming way in from the macro level of eating down to the microscopic level of cells.
Now, what's really interesting here is this classic exam comparison, aerobic versus anaerobic respiration. The huge game changer, oxygen. Aerobic requires oxygen and yields a massive amount of ATP, plus CO2 and water. Think of it like highly efficient fuel for a marathon. Anaerobic, on the other hand, doesn't use oxygen. It yields much less ATP and produces lactic acid or ethanol. It's more like a quick, desperate sprint. Oxygen completely dictates that metabolic efficiency. So how do we get that high ATP yield? Well, the cell relies on a 2-step engine room. Step 1 is glycolysis, literally breaking down glucose, just cracking it right in half. Step 2 is the Krebs cycle, which extracts those vital high-energy electrons from the pieces. Keeping these 2 primary metabolic engines straight will absolutely save you on the biochemistry portion of the test. And here is a surprising twist that professors absolutely love to test you on. Despite how completely differently plants and animals get their food, both plant and animal cells use the exact same mitochondrial machinery to make ATP.
They both turn glucose into energy, releasing CO2 and water in the process. The cellular engine is fundamentally identical across the board. Crazy, right?
All right, home stretch, Section 5, the anatomy of gas exchange. Because as we just saw, cellular respiration needs a constant flow of gases.
To keep that oxygen flowing in and CO2 flowing out, different species evolved totally different anatomical structures. You need a mental list for this. Humans rely on lungs. Fish use gills to pull dissolved oxygen from water. Insects, they use tracheal systems, literally tiny tubes running all through their bodies. And land plants use stomata on their leaves and root hairs. Super diverse anatomy, but the exact same physiological goal.
Let's zoom into human lungs to really visualize this mechanic. Imagine you are a single oxygen molecule. You travel all the way down into these microscopic tiny air sacs called alveoli. From there, you effortlessly diffuse across a super thin membrane directly into a waiting red blood cell. And at that exact same microsecond, a carbon dioxide molecule diffuses out to be exhaled. It's this continuous microscopic swap keeping us alive every single second.
To wrap up our review explainer, let's look at a pretty provocative thought experiment. What would happen to an entire ecosystem if either plant stomata or animal mitochondria just suddenly stopped performing gas exchange? Seriously, think about it. The oxygen you are breathing in right this second was produced by a plant, and the carbon dioxide you just exhaled will literally be used by one. It brilliantly reinforces just how deeply interconnected all of biology truly is. All right, that's it for the flashcards. Good luck on the exam. You've totally got this.